Thank you all for joining us. Again, my name is Glenn Glasper, affectionately known as Mr. Dollar Out of a Dime, and this is the Real Life Real Estate Investing Show. And what we do here is we talk about real estate situations, but we also help you we provide real life real estate solutions. And today we have as our guest Mr. Malhar. Baghat. Okay, I got to make sure I say that right.
It's all good. It's good. I'm trying to retrain people.
Okay.
Everyone says my name Malhar.
Right.
I can understand why. I have a fairly unique name, but Malhar, pretty simple.
So we have to change that.
M-U-L. It's spelled M-A-L, but you pronounce it M-U-L.
M-U-L. Okay, right. Okay, good. See, he's teaching us already.
Yeah, there you go.
So good stuff. So today we're going to just get into it. We're going to talk about basically all things real estate investing, which I know that's a topic that
I want to share this.
You can cover. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We're definitely going to tell people to do that.
Yes.
Did you find it on there?
I've not yet.
Okay.
I'm new to this, guys, so please excuse me.
We got Sharice Dancy that's joining us. We got Mr. Anwar that's joining us. What's up, G? Or what's up, Anwar? He said, "What up, G?" We got Mr. Harvey, Tim Harvey, that's watching us.
Tim Harvey.
Yes,
What's
indeed.
Up,
yes, indeed. Again, guys, thank you all for joining us. Please go ahead and share this in your feed. Go ahead and share it in the real estate investing groups and share it in the many different groups that you guys are connected to. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Mr. Malhar, tell us who Malhar Baghat is and how you got started in real estate investing.
So I got started in real estate investing back in 2008. I pretty much was in another business with my family, and long story short, it did not turn out well. I effectively made a bunch of decisions in that business that ended up costing us pretty much everything, and
Wow.
so I had to figure out kind of what I was going to do. Went out on a limb, joined a real estate investing course, so to speak.
Okay.
And back in late 2007, just as the market was starting to dive in the real estate in general. And so I pretty much sum it up with a credit card and a dream. So I put, I got my balances up, swiped my cards, several cards to pay for the tuition for that program.
Wow.
And then started getting involved with it. Didn't see a lot of success for the first 2 or 3 years. It was a struggle, but I put myself in a situation where I had to succeed. Pretty much had cut all my lifelines, didn't have any other income source.
Wow.
So it was a struggle for the first 2-3 years. I was actually living in New York City. I put myself, after I did my very first deal, I moved to New York City. And as you can imagine, it's not cheap living there.
Oh, absolutely,
and
absolutely.
so
yeah.
I got involved in real estate, was literally using some credit cards to pay other credit cards, and back and forth. It was
who does stuff like that? Entrepreneurs.
Yeah, entrepreneurs, right? Entrepreneurs. You figure out a way.
Yes,
and so
indeed.
I started doing that, and then
I did that quite a bit.
Yeah, and then in 2010, late 2010, I joined another real estate coaching program, and that was Fortune Builders. And,
okay, good.
As a result, 2011, 12, our business just blew up. We were remotely investing in several markets around the country, including Atlanta. Wow. And then about 4 years ago now, we moved to Atlanta to really just take it to another level. And we've done that, running many, many projects at a time.
Don't give them too much. We don't get into that. Don't
Sorry.
give them too much
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, I sometimes get carried away.
No, but that's good though. That's good because I know we're gonna fill this hour up, and we're supposed to only do this for an hour.
Yeah.
But it's so much good information. We always go over an hour.
For sure.
And I don't think people complain yet. So.
That's good. That's good.
But I do want to be mindful of your time.
Absolutely.
Actually, I want to go back a little bit. You probably don't remember the first time we met. The first time we met was at an Atlanta REIA meeting.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember, actually.
And we're talking about wholesaling some deals and things like that.
Yeah. And, one thing that I'll say about you, Glenn, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. It's an honor.
Thank you.
I have a lot of respect for you and what you've been up to and doing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
We've been good friends for a while now.
Yes, indeed.
And yeah, you're right. We met at an Atlanta REIA event, and In my typical style, I'm a t-shirt and jeans type of guy. This guy was dressed up to the nines, always dressed up real nice in suits and what have you. So
that's what people have to do that's trying to get money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much cut and dry. This is who I am. This is what I do. I think, I'm not trying to be anyone, and I think that's one of the key things that I've learned over the years is just be yourself. And I make mistakes. I share my mistakes with people.
Absolutely.
And I think that creates a realness about this business that, we make mistakes, but we have some big wins as well. So,
Absolutely.
Which is really nice and cool. Right.
And that's what I always want to be sure that we share with people, some of those mistakes that we make.
Yeah.
Because I think it doesn't hit home for people when they say, oh, I want to be a real estate investor. And they get in and they get hit upside the head when a deal doesn't close or they start a rehab project and something goes wrong.
Yeah.
So that's why this kind of platform was created, so that we can share those real life situations.
Absolutely.
So actually, as a matter of fact, let's tell people about the project that we're sitting in front of.
So we're sitting here in a project in East Atlanta, and we actually bought this property through one of our agent connections. She brought it to us. They had already run the numbers. They executed on the deal and then brought it to us. We said, we ran the numbers. It was tight, as every deal always is, especially in this market. We figured out a way for it to work. East Atlanta, if you're not familiar with it, is a transitional area in Metro Atlanta, in town, 10 minutes from downtown Atlanta, and a great up-and-coming neighborhood. So this property was actually burned out very badly. So we pretty much gutted the whole entire property. There's guys working there right now. That's why we're outside. Right. And so we ended up purchasing it. We're in the middle of the renovation right now. The drywall is going up. All of the major plumbing, electrical, everything's new in this.
Wow.
I mean, we got new framing, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, roof. It's new. Most of it's new.
Right.
So they're putting up the drywall right now. So we're in the finishing stage. Probably about, I want to say probably about 4 to 5 weeks out from going on market on this.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what's now I know a lot of investors that I know are afraid of burnouts.
Yeah.
I'm not going to admit that I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll do it,
yeah.
Because I can call you and ask you what I'm supposed to do.
Sure, absolutely.
But what are some of the biggest things that people should be concerned about when doing a burnout type of project?
The first thing is, it always comes down to your team, how strong your team is. The very first piece that you always want to look at is, with burnouts, many people just come in and, you see wholesalers deals.
Yes.
And
yes.
We can talk about that in a little bit.
We will talk about that.
Yeah. And what it really costs to renovate properties.
Yes.
With burnouts, your most difficult piece is generally going to be how much framing needs to be redone.
Right.
And with framing, you have, you could piecemeal it together, but then you might come across city issues, like city inspectors might give you a tough time if you haven't done the right amount. You haven't taken out the right amount. The other thing is smoke smell, especially on a major burnout like this one was.
Yes.
It's very difficult to get rid of the smoke smell. So sometimes the only solution is to redo all of the framing.
Wow.
And so that's what we've pretty much done on this house. It's all new framing, pretty much. And the first thing is your team. So you definitely want a very good engineer on your team, which we have a great engineer. He came in before to assess it. Usually what we'll do on a burnout like this is we'll get it trashed out. So clean it out. We want to see the framing. So if we can safely remove drywall, things like that, we'll go ahead and do so. And then after we do that, we have our engineer come in and assess what the condition of the framing is.
Got it.
Then he or she will be able to provide us with a very clear idea of what needs to be done. And it costs a few $100s, but if you want to build a reputation in this business, you want to do things on the up and up, because bottom line is there's a lot of investment activity going on.
Yes.
And people are beginning to recognize who does good work and who does not. And as long as you continue to do good work and provide quality properties, because at the end of the day, you got to think about this not just as a money-making
Oh my
piece.
goodness! Yes.
The bottom line is people are going to be living in these homes.
Yes.
Right? And so, it's Glenn's phone. But people are going to be living.
The producer was
in these
supposed to tell everybody to turn their phones off. I don't know what happened.
I think he did.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
I just didn't comply. Okay. I'm sorry.
But bottom line is, look, we're getting a lot of likes right now. People are living in these homes, guys.
Right.
You want to do quality work. This is how you build a solid reputation. We've been around for 10 years, and I don't think there's many people that can say anything necessarily bad about us because we try to do work on the up and up. Do we make mistakes? Absolutely, we make mistakes. But we want to do right by the people that we work with. And so, do good work. Really, that's really what it comes down to. So talking about framing, I sometimes have scatterbrain, guys, so you have to excuse me.
No.
I talk about different things. There's always a lot that's spewing in my mind that I want to share with people. Which is why I love doing things
absolutely.
like this.
Yeah.
So, your team, you definitely want a really good engineer. Get a good home inspector. We use good home inspectors because they'll walk through the property. They'll give us a high-level overview of the areas that we should look out for. The home inspector, in general, is going to serve as your eyes and ears. They're paid independent of whether you do the project or not.
Absolutely.
They have no incentive to not tell you the truth.
Right, absolutely.
As long as they're a good home inspector. So in the beginning, while I was starting out, I used to walk properties with home inspectors to get a better idea of, what needs to be done on the project. This is your opportunity to learn. You're going to spend $300, $400, $500, whatever it may be, but spend the 2, 3, 4 hours walking through with the home inspector, get a better idea of how's the framing look, how's the plumbing look, HVAC. They might tell you, oh, the plumbing needs to be redone. Why? Why does it need to be redone? Right. Show it to me. Now I'm here with you. And good inspectors will spend the 3 or 4 hours that they need to walking through. And I used to use that opportunity to learn. So nowadays, sometimes I'll walk with my inspector, but I'll only be there for 10 minutes. I'll say, hey, can you take a look at these few things? These are things that I think we should be aware of. He's joked around with me. He says, why the heck do you even hire me anymore, right? But the point is, because we're building a systematic business. We want to build a process business because I don't have 2, 3, 4 hours to walk through it in that much detail, nor do I have the inclination to.
Absolutely.
My belief is pay good people for good work.
That's right. That's right. Allow the professionals to do what they do.
Exactly.
I'm gonna tell you an experience that I had with that, because I've been walking through houses for years. Yeah. And my experience with buying my own personal home was my hire an inspector. I can do this. I know what to look for. I've seen these. Now my house is it's a little newer, so I'm like, okay, I'm not looking for any major issues. Right. So I check A, B, C, and D, and everything's good. Yep. And so it was satisfactory for me. But the problem I ran into, and this hopefully you're paying attention, the problem I ran into when my AC went out, and we called up the home warranty company and said, come out and fix our AC. They said, well, you guys didn't do an inspection. I said, well, I inspected it. They said that you have to have a licensed inspector to actually show that we've actually paid for an inspection for them to cover the warranty.
Interesting.
Wow. I was like,
I was not aware of that. I was like, it makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sense. And another thing I say about inspections, I mean, it's what we pay for that education. Yes. Like you said, now you may spend 10 minutes and he asks, why even hire you? Yeah. But you've learned a lot about the inspection process because of hiring him so many times.
Yeah, and the major areas of the home, what areas should you be concentrating on? Because I share this example a lot, which is a bent gutter out of shape is not going to make or break your deal. And if it is going to make or break your deal, you probably shouldn't be doing that.
Absolutely.
Right? But what's going to make or break your deal is reframing the entire roof, or where you thought you could keep it, but all of a sudden your engineer comes in and says, no, it's got to go because it's so severely burned out.
Absolutely.
Or the plumbing, yes, it might be in decent condition, but it's galvanized.
Right.
So you can't tell if it's rusted from the inside.
I've dealt with plenty of that.
So if, in town Atlanta, we deal with a lot of older homes. So in most cases, you're going to have to do major renovation projects out there. So if you don't want to do major renovation projects, you probably shouldn't be investing in town Atlanta.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You can invest in other parts and newer properties. My rule of thumb is like 1980. If a property is built after 1980, generally in most cases it will be cosmetics. I mean, you will still have to make certain repairs to major systems. Sometimes you want to inspect it, but in many cases it will be cosmetics. Usually before 1980, like 1978, 79, they used to use things like lead-based paint, asbestos, things like that. The big, scary words.
Yes.
Which
those are big, scary words.
And you have to remediate for it. Like I said, do right, put out a good product. You will sell on a consistent basis.
So in a situation, I mean, you brought up a point. In a situation where there is lead-based paint, I guess the thing now is to make sure you disclose that.
Yeah.
But what do you do in a lead-based paint situation? I mean, do you take out all the walls and put new walls up and paint?
So with lead-based paint, if you scrape it, then obviously it can get on the ground, things like that. It's a toxic substance. So these days, a general contractor has to be lead certified these days. So if you are using a general contractor, first of all, make sure they're licensed, make sure they're insured, make sure they have the appropriate certifications that are necessary, so that they can mitigate for certain things like lead-based paint.
Absolutely.
So they have to have a proper disposal process. And you don't know if it's lead-based paint or not unless it's tested, which is something your home inspector can do for you as well. So, I like to do things on the up and up. Why? Because I expect to be in this industry for the next, I don't know how long. Right? Longer than today.
Absolutely.
And tomorrow, right? So if you do good work, like I said, you'll come across different things. We've come across asbestos before. We've had to remediate it, even if we're tearing the house down, right? Because asbestos is dangerous once it becomes airborne. If you're demoing something, obviously there's fibers that are going to become airborne. So how do you mitigate for that? There's companies out there that can dispose of it properly, and that's what you want to do. And
it costs a lot of money, though, right?
It does. It does cost a significant amount of money. It can make or break a deal. Absolutely. So, like I said, if you want to build a reputation, I'm going to probably say this another 15 times.
We'll definitely get into that. Yeah.
You want to do the right thing.
Well, and that's one of the things. I mean, just to piggyback off your point, one of the things that I always say, even with teaching, students, a couple of the main things I always say, the one thing you want to have for longevity in this business, or the two things, is relationships and your reputation.
Yep.
If you keep those two intact, you can have the longevity.
Absolutely.
So that's why, somebody was saying, wait a minute, you're interviewing Malhar today? Malhar today?
Malhar.
I'm gonna get that right.
There you go.
I said, yeah. I said, we've known each other for a while. They're like, oh wow, he's doing some major things. I'm like, well, I felt like a celebrity because I know you.
Thanks, man. I'm a normal guy, man. I mean, I don't look at myself as any celebrity. I just do what I do. I put deals together. I am honest with people.
Definitely.
I tell them, what numbers work, why they work, or why they don't work. That's something that I think a lot is missing in this industry.
Yes.
Going into what we were briefly talking about earlier, wholesalers. I try to educate wholesalers. If you don't know what you don't know, and a lot of people just get annoyed with wholesalers. I try to tell them, listen, I might not do a deal with you for a year or 2 years, but if you keep in touch with me, I'll let you know why a deal doesn't work, or how I see it. Because now a more educated wholesaler is going to come to me perhaps first and give me a first crack at a deal that someone else might not get a crack at. And if it works for me, great. If it doesn't, I might tell them. I've even told wholesalers, I'd come in at this price, but the market's so hot in this area, you might do better if you put it out on the marketplace and see what you might get. Because I'm a firm believer in what goes around comes around.
Definitely. So let's talk about that. What would you consider is the number one thing that wholesalers miss when they want to be the wholesaler?
What is the number one thing wholesalers miss? I definitely think repairs are generally understated.
Oh, it only takes $5,000 to do this project?
Yeah.
Give me $125,000 for it.
Yeah. You know, what it costs is what it costs. Labor, we're in the city of Atlanta. And labor prices have been going up. Why? Because there's a massive shortage of labor. So people, they'll quote me out a price on this, and if they get $50 or $100 more, they might be willing to go somewhere else.
Yes.
Why? Because they know that right now they don't necessarily need that consistent business always. Not everyone.
Right.
But there are some people that see the advantage. So I think that repairs is something that wholesalers tend to miss pretty often. Just simply because they don't know what they don't know always. Other ones, there's wholesalers out there just looking to pad their own pocket.
Yes.
I don't think that is a long-term opportunity. That doesn't do well for you yourself. Because if you want to build a reputation, if you're a good wholesaler, a really good wholesaler, you'll find probably that maybe 5 to 10 people will buy the majority of your deals. Now, occasionally you'll have someone outside of the majority of those 5 or 10 that will buy deals, but for the most part, 5 to 10 people tend to buy the majority of your deals. Is what I've found.
And you said some major stuff, because I think oftentimes when I teach people about wholesaling, and we talk about the numbers. And a lot of folks always ask us, what's your criteria?
Right.
What's your response to that?
Anything in flippable neighborhoods in town Atlanta. That's pretty much what I do. So I've learned one of the biggest things that I've learned over time is focus. In the beginning, I used to get involved with deals all over Atlanta. As a result, it was impossible for me to really learn a given area really well. So I've become a self-proclaimed expert, I guess, in a lot of
some of us would back that up with you as well. We'd give you the credit for that.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Well, with the East Side neighborhoods, I'm involved in East Side Atlanta, and that's where I generally like to work. So I know most of the streets in this area. I know most of the properties that are coming and going on the marketplace, and that's just not because I'm just randomly seeing a property here or there. I have searches set up. I actually have a dedicated email address, and this is a tip for anyone looking to start to get to know the market. Create an email address and then set up searches for different neighborhoods, and I pull every single property that's coming up so that I can start seeing what properties are being listed for, what types of renovations are going on, are there price increases, price decreases happening, what's the sold activity, pending sales activity, things like that. Once you begin to know different neighborhoods really well, let's say you send me a deal, I'm going to be able to figure out and execute whether a deal makes sense or not very quickly. Very quickly.
Yes.
Right? Just because I know, hey, this street or that street tends to be a little bit worse or a little bit better than the rest of the streets in that neighborhood. Absolutely. So, and that's how, sometimes the name of the game is how quickly can you execute.
Absolutely. It's kind of I built up a kind of a great bit of knowledge of Decatur, like the 30032 area. I did a lot over there, and so when I get deals from wholesalers that say, hey, this is what the price is and this is what it's going to cost to renovate, I'm like, there's no way. Well, so what you said, I mean, is building up that knowledge for the focus for a certain area. Makes sense.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, people ask me, like, how would you set it up? I don't have MLS access or something like that. use a free website. One of my free websites that I use that I still like to this day is Redfin. I love using Redfin. You can set up a ton of searches off of Redfin, and then every time a property goes under contract or a new one's listed, we get an email. Now it's to a dedicated email because I don't want to flood my email.
Absolutely,
address,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so while I'm just sitting around or waiting in line somewhere, I can just scroll through on my phone, right? We're in the age of technology. Scroll through on my phone, click one of them, just because, hey, here's a new property that just popped up, new renovation in East Atlanta. Now I can view the pictures of it and see what type of renovation it is. How do they describe it? I can then find the history on the property as well. You know, what price was it purchased for? Is that always available? No, but if you have access to the MLS, then it is.
Got it. That's good
so
stuff.
You can cross-reference it.
Yeah, we'll definitely be doing that.
Yeah, it's one of the ways that I consistently keep my pulse on what's going on with the market.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I was alluding to is a lot of times when I'm asked that question, what's your criteria?
Right.
For the most part, for me, because I'm a wholesaler as well.
Right.
So, some stuff I buy, some stuff I'll, market to other people. And so when I'm asked what my criteria is, most times I say when as long as the numbers work.
Yeah.
And because if it's something that I won't buy, maybe if it's in East Atlanta, I can sell it to you.
Yeah.
So what I think what gets missing with a lot of the wholesalers is the numbers actually having to work.
Yes.
Like they bring us stuff and they don't know how to analyze the deal. First of all, that's what I find.
Right.
They don't know how to analyze the deal. They don't, know true ARVs.
Yeah.
They get their comps from Zillow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now there's a way to pull comps from Zillow.
Yeah.
But they don't do it properly.
Right.
And then they don't know how to estimate the repairs.
Yeah.
And they guarantee us that it's the best deal that we could buy for the day.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you my quick 2-minute way of analyzing a deal, if you will. So criteria is important. I'm in the same boat. If the numbers make sense, if it's a flippable deal, I'll look at it. I might execute on it. I'm also looking for cash flow at times as well. So depending on the neighborhoods, etc. I've learned that my niche is in town Atlanta. So that's where I stick. If I get something outside the perimeter, then maybe I could wholesale it or something like that.
Got it.
Primarily, it's inside the perimeter. And becoming niche focused, number one, allows you to be able to understand ARVs a lot better.
Definitely.
If I'm in College Park, then I'm in Snellville, and I'm in Sandy Springs, and then tomorrow I'm in Marietta. It's that. That's an enormous amount of area to cover and know every single neighborhood in that area.
That's right.
And so as a result of it, you want to be hyper-focused. And so how I say hyper-focused, I mean, within maybe a 10-mile radius so that you become the expert in that area.
Definitely.
Okay?
Definitely.
So how do you analyze a deal? Bottom line is look at the comps. Especially in town neighborhoods, it can very much be street to street, block to block. My rule of thumb is never cross any major roads.
Right,
How do I define a major road? Pretty much, I go to Google Maps. If it's a yellow road or it's a popular road, like a Moreland Avenue or something like that.
Got it.
I'm not going to cross into the other side. So, for example, Edgewood is on one side of Moreland Avenue. Reynoldstown is on another side of Moreland Avenue. Well, Reynoldstown sells for significantly more. It's a smaller neighborhood than Edgewood, but Edgewood can't warrant as high of prices as Reynoldstown can. But if you were doing the typical appraisal formula, half-mile radius or even a mile, whatever it may be, you'll see stuff in Reynoldstown, you'll see stuff in Inman Park.
Right,
but you can't compare Inman Park to Edgewood. Sorry about that, guys. It is an active work site, so every few minutes or so you might hear this, but it'll
that's
go
okay.
off.
I think they can hear us okay. I think hopefully you guys can hear us okay.
Yeah.
We're still getting some likes and some love, so we're okay.
So analyze your ARVs. Look at similar properties that your property will be in when it's finished, when it's fully renovated.
Absolutely.
And that's the right type of renovation.
Right.
Plumbing, electrical, HVAC. If that needs to be updated, you want to factor for that. So compare like to like. and then back into your max offer number. So oftentimes a lot of wholesalers don't factor in holding costs.
Right.
They don't factor in financing costs. Most
Absolutely.
investors are going to have financing and holding costs. So yeah, your gross profit margin might say $50,000 on a deal, but after you look at the financing and the holding costs, it might be half of that
And
or
then
less.
your commissions.
And commissions on the sales side, things like that. So every single person's situation is different. Like my financing costs might be a little bit lower than a newer investor's.
Absolutely.
Because we have a track record. We have built a lot of relationships with private lenders,
Right.
etc. So you can't always factor a number. So it's okay to do gross margins, but generally speaking, most savvier investors are generally going to be looking at properties with the typical MAO formula, which is max allowable offer is ARV, 70% of ARV minus repair costs. Now, that's not always the case, but in many cases, depending on your ARVs, it is the case. Generally speaking, if your ARVs start to increase over, I usually use a number like 350,000. That formula becomes a little weaker.
Got it.
But that's a great starting point, because in that 30%, you have the investor's profit, you have their financing costs, you have their holding costs, etc. So most people are buying at that. These days, there are people buying at 75%, even 80%.
Yes.
I don't tend to do that. The reason is because I believe in discipline in this business. Because I know that I've been through a down market, and I know what can happen in a down market.
Definitely.
If I'm thinking the ARV is 300 today, in a down market tomorrow it might be 285.
Absolutely.
And a 5% swing is not out of the realm of impossible.
Right.
So those are things that you want to be aware of.
So what's your typical, what you want to have as your typical net profit?
Typically for net,
I mean, of course, would not include your taxes and all the other stuff.
So net return on investment, typically I'm looking for about 15% return on investment on all cash invested in the deal. So if we put 200,000 into a deal, we generally want to make at least 30 grand.
Got it.
That's net, bottom line. If I can do better than that, I'm very interested, obviously.
Absolutely.
I'm always shooting for 20%, but construction projects go over budget.
Absolutely.
The nature
so
of
that even happens to you?
That happens to everyone, right? And you don't know what's behind walls when you start opening things up. And before you buy a property, obviously you can't open up walls and things like that.
So this is me taking out my hammer and beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
Because I've had this conversation several times with people on the show.
Yeah.
What do you, and I'm going to ask you the question based on your experience, what do you say to the newer investor who gets involved in a rehab project and they have their set number of what they expect it to be?
Yeah.
And then it goes out of budget, over budget, and they lose their mind. How do you calm them? Is there a way to calm them?
I don't know if there's a way to calm them. We're in a very unique market where we've even had properties that we buy it with a certain ARV in mind, and then we end up selling it for 20, 30, 40, 50,000 more than we had even thought we could. So in an upswinging market, it's not the biggest deal in the world.
Absolutely.
In a flat or a down market, it's going to be a huge deal.
Right.
So what do I say to people is, doing no money down rehabbing is not the easiest thing to do. Always have some money in reserves. And we hold money in reserves because we want to ensure that if something goes over budget, I don't want to be picking up the phone and calling my private lender or hard money lender saying, hey, you know what, I need an extra $10,000, $15,000, $20,000.
You're able to do that?
Right. No, you can't.
I was going to say, look, man, I need to be connected to your people.
Right. No, you can't do that. And so that's why we never go back to people for money. So we always have money in reserve. You could potentially do no money down deals, but you'd have to borrow more money than you actually need on the project for purchase and renovation.
Right.
So you borrow the purchase, the renovation, the holding, financing, interest-only payments, etc., for a given period of time. At least 6 months, probably closer to 9 or 12 months sometimes, depending on the scope of the work for the project. So, and worst case scenario, what happens if the project goes over 6 months or 9 months? Now you're paying money out of your pocket, and maybe you only borrowed 9 months worth of interest.
Absolutely.
So you always want to make sure you have some money in reserves so that you ensure that you're not getting burnt, frankly.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, we're actually getting, this is some good stuff, man. I think we got people that are staying on with us.
Good.
So thank you guys again for watching. Thank you guys for joining us on the show today. Those of you that are just joining us, please go ahead and share it in your news feeds. Share it with your partners, friends. Share it in the real estate groups, the business groups, entrepreneur groups. Share it wherever you can, because we want to make sure we give people an opportunity to get to know Mr. Malhar and get them to know the extensive amount of knowledge that he has. So that actually takes me into another question I want to have. Let me see. I think I want to. All right, we got people that are going to be asking questions. Guys, go ahead and start posting your questions. We want to make sure we get a chance to answer your questions toward the end of the show. That way you guys stick around with us. We want to make sure you guys have your questions, because any question that you can ask Malhar, he's going to be able to answer it, and I'm sure.
I hope, at least in the residential single family.
Got it.
For the most part.
So that leads me to a question. What is your do you have a timetable on getting into commercial at all?
Yeah, I've been looking at multi-units lately. I haven't executed on anything. To be honest, I haven't been that focused on it. You know, I've been focusing a lot more recently on wholesaling myself.
Got it.
And the reason is, I'll tell you, is typically we're usually running 10 to 12 rehab projects at a time.
Wow.
Right now, we're significantly lower than that. Why? Because the market is not willing to provide me with the type of margins that I would like, and as a result, I'm not willing to execute on properties that I don't feel 100% about.
Absolutely.
The other side of the coin that I've realized, and I've had this conversation with several people, probably you as well,
Definitely.
that there's an immense amount of opportunity in wholesaling these days. So you can make larger margins than you could ever before, because there's a lot of different types of investors, be them local in Atlanta or outside of Atlanta as well, you know, and from other states, even international buyers that are willing to buy properties at significantly higher prices than maybe you or I would.
Definitely.
And so you can make larger wholesale margins if you're good at negotiating a deal at a good price.
Absolutely.
So we've been focusing on wholesaling a lot more. But, you know, we have to continue to keep our crews busy, make sure they know that we're consistently doing work as well.
Absolutely.
So there's a good balance, but we have wholesaled a lot more properties this year just because the margins are available in the marketplace. Properties that used to sell for $250, $300 these days are, 3 or 4 years ago, are nowadays selling for $350, $400, $450.
Yes.
And so there's a lot more margin. So you can buy deals at, let's say, $200, mark them up more than, say, 10 or 15,000. Sometimes you can mark them up 20, 25,000 and make a larger spread on properties. So.
Now, does that still leave a good enough margin for the end buyers?
Yeah, I think it does. So whenever I present a wholesale deal to someone, and this is something unique that we can offer because we've done so many rehab projects, is I'll share with a potential buyer what my vision is.
Yes.
Because I've already done the homework in the way that I'm probably going to rehab it myself. Right. And so I'll walk in and I'll say, okay, you know, we should probably open up the floor plan like this. It needs new electrical, plumbing, HVAC, or whatever, right? Based off of what that particular project requires. And once I sell them the vision, I show them, look, this is probably what it's going to cost you. And people know me to be one of the more expensive rehabbers out there.
You are.
I am. And so
But you always get the return on your investment, though.
I get the return. But the other piece is I also as a result of that, because people know me as that, they know that, hey, if this is going to cost Malhar $85,000, I might be able to get it done for $75,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they're able to perhaps use a lower grade product, perhaps, or something like that. It's not that it's worse. It's just we do certain things in a certain way just because we've been used to doing that. The other thing is we kind of look at real estate investing as a creative outlet for us. So I don't, I'll be the first to admit that I'm not the one that manages the projects or designs them at all. Danielle, my wife, she is our director of design and project management. She runs all of our contractors on a day-to-day basis, and so I'm just sitting in front of this project because it's one of our projects. But honestly, I know some of the things that are going on, but for the most part, I know what my role and responsibility for our business is, and Danielle does a fantastic job in her department as well, and we make a great team as a result of it. So where was I going with this?
Well, now since you're in that lane, I don't know where you were going, but I'm gonna bring you on over in there.
Okay, all right.
If that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you talk about something that I think it's vitally important, and I had the opportunity to sit down with Kendall Ficklin last week, and we talked about the team aspect of how you become successful having a team.
Yeah.
So tell us about how your day-to-day operations are. Like, what different people do you have doing what in your different areas?
Yeah, so we have Danielle runs all of our construction and design. We have Taylor, who is our office manager. She's currently being trained to be more of an acquisitions manager as well. She joined us with that aspiration, so she's starting to see deals, which was very exciting for me. She's starting to see deals the way that I'm starting to see them.
Good. Okay.
She's starting to understand kind of how numbers tend to work. She's pulling ARVs in town Atlanta really well, which is a huge plus for us. The other thing is we have a couple of carpenters that work for us. They're actually on this job right now. They are really good. They do all different types of things really well, and so we have a couple of those guys, and then our team, that's our internal team, and then outside of that we have people that we work with that drywall companies and engineers and drafts people. I know you've had Jennifer on your show before. Yes. She actually did the drawings for this house.
She did make a comment earlier. She said it looks backwards. What was it she said? She said the house looks backwards, but it looks good. She said the house
is backwards,
but looking good.
Mirror image.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Jennifer, this is the house. We're still putting it together. She did the drawings. She did a great job for us on that. And so you want to have a solid draftsperson that knows what they're doing. And then we have our building suppliers as well that provide the lumber, etc. They'll also come in and they'll figure out what type of framing package we need, windows, things like that. On large projects, we have different vendors, etc. So not just material suppliers, but we have laborers as well.
Good stuff.
So companies, I mean, on any given project, probably on this project, we will probably have transacted with, I want to say, at least 25 or so companies, maybe more. And then their crews probably are 2 or 3 people each.
Got it.
So
Okay.
We're providing a lot of revenue to the economy.
Absolutely.
Right?
Good stuff.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
I love real estate because we get to employ a lot of people as a result of the activity we do.
Good stuff.
And I take a lot of pride in the redeveloping communities. I honestly believe that too.
Good stuff. So how about your wholesaling process? Like, do you have different people, or are they the same people that worked with you in doing the wholesaling?
Yeah, that's the same thing that we're doing. So we're starting that avenue back up again.
Okay.
So just over the last about 6 to 7 months, we're doing different types of marketing. One of the key pieces with marketing that I would say is we're looking at different types of opportunities for marketing. So things that might have a barrier to entry. So everyone these days does direct mail or calling agents, things like that. If you can find things that would connect with your potential client that is not so easy to do. For example, driving around looking for vacant houses, finding the homeowner, finding their phone number, calling them, has barriers to entry because someone in Oklahoma can't buy a list and send out mailers to all those
Exactly.
people, right?
Exactly.
There's a barrier to entry. You have to have a process in place that allows you to find all the vacant houses in your area, etc. So things that are tougher to do can be more lucrative at this time, I feel.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of what our process is. We do different things like that. And we're just getting it rolling again. But sometimes we have found that we buy a property, assuming we're going to rehab it, and then we've had people walk up to us while we're at the property, figuring out what we're going to be doing, that say, hey, would you be open to selling this? And we'll say, yeah, and we give them sometimes a crazy number, and they're like, okay, I'll take it.
They'll take it.
Right? So that's when I was like, I kind of fell into wholesaling a lot more this year because I started naming certain prices and people started taking them. So
why not?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in a quick nickel is better than a slow dime.
Yes.
Right? So that's nice.
Yeah, it takes you away from the stress of having to work through the rehabbing and all that.
Absolutely.
I'll take that extra $10,000 if I do it quickly.
Exactly.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. So we're actually around that time, and I'm actually looking for the people who have asked questions. We have Diane Smith that says, thanks for the education. And she wants to ask, is FHA 203K still available?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Yeah.
I have
it's
never, I've never really used it because I'm not a homeowner buyer. I believe those are only available for owner ops.
Absolutely.
And I believe they are still available. I don't know. They used to have limits. I don't know as much about them, but my best friend is Google. When I don't know something, I always try to figure it out first. Because if you approach someone, have a couple of solutions before you ask the question.
A lot
of people will ask me questions and they haven't done the research yet. When you can, like I said, we live in the age of information technology. Do a little bit of research, and then come with a more a question that is going to actually produce a actionable result for yourself. Right?
And I hope y'all got that.
Yeah.
Because here's the other side of that. Why those of us, I don't know. Do you teach as well, right?
I do teach.
Okay.
I teach for Fortune Builders a couple of times a month. I travel around mostly in the Southeast, and I do trainings for them. I also teach at different RIA events from time to time. I'm happy to give my time in that capacity, but like I said, I also run a business. So I'm not able to do it on a daily basis.
Got it. Well, no, the point I was making is that's kind of what keeps those of us that teach in business, because most of the time, unfortunately, and I'm going to reveal this secret to everybody, most of the time people don't take action on their own.
Oh yeah.
Like you said, to at least do some research before you come and ask a question.
Absolutely.
But that's unfortunately not a lot of people are going to do that.
Yeah.
They want to know what you know before they find out if there is something available that they can know to at least offer something to you when they ask that question. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's important that you take some action first, even if it's imperfect action, and then you start to formulate some ideas around a topic. Then you can tap into other people.
Definitely.
If they see you at your event, or they see me at a event where I'm just out there hanging out. I'm happy to spend a couple of minutes to talk to you about what's going on, what type of questions you have, what you're trying to get into.
Right. And that's the thing that always, I guess that was the thing that attracted us to one another, because we always shared information.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I know whenever it's something I'm trying to figure something out, and I ask you and you'll tell me about it. You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, I have something to offer.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Like, if there's something that you have a question about, I can answer that question as well.
Absolutely.
And I think that,
like social media.
Yeah, right. Well, don't ask me questions about that yet. I can tell you a little bit that I know, because I'm still figuring this thing out.
It's good. It's been pretty awesome. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But one of this came about as a passion that I have to educate. You know, so I just figured that, hey, Facebook and Instagram will allow me to go live, and I can just sit and have a conversation. It can't be that hard.
Yeah, no, it's pretty
cool.
But
y'all don't try this. Y'all don't try this at home, because it takes about 4 or 5 of us to get this set up.
Yeah, you came in with a big operation. It's pretty cool, though. I think it's really important that there's good education in the community. I'm a firm believer that you're gonna learn one way or the other. And you can read.
Talk about that. That's a great point.
Yeah, you're going to learn one way or the other. You're going to either cut your teeth on projects, or you're going to learn certain things up front. Either way, you're going to pay for your education.
Yes.
So, and can you get started with no money? Absolutely, you can. The trade-off is going to be, what are you willing to put into it, right?
Definitely.
So if you don't have money to invest in education, that's fine. You don't have to. Or if you don't have money to invest in marketing, your trade-off is going to be you're going to have to put in more time.
Definitely.
Right? So you're going to be out there at different events. You're going to be going out to look at properties, connecting with people like yourself, Glenn, or myself, or other wholesalers in the marketplace, so that you can become very familiar with what values are, what things cost, etc. Meet a lot of people. This is hands down one of the biggest relationship-based industries that I've ever come across. I've been involved in 3 other industries, but by far this has been a relationship-based industry.
Yes.
10 years ago I was shyer, surprisingly, but these days I'm not. Why? Because it doesn't serve my business to not show up to different meetings, etc.
Absolutely.
So if you're in and around Atlanta, I'm in and around Atlanta.
Definitely.
Right? Because it doesn't help my business to just sit around.
This is true. This is true. And I think, one of the other things, as entrepreneurs, we know that one of the major parts of what we do that helps build our business is networking.
Yes.
And in that networking, you build relationships.
Yeah.
So that's how, at least for me, I understand that's what you do, because there may be a situation that either one of us runs into where Google may not have that specific answer.
Absolutely.
But I'm like, hey, I know Malhar's actually experienced that.
Right.
So let me call him and ask him, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
So I absolutely agree with what you're saying. Get out and go to events and network and meet people and,
Yeah, and in the beginning, be willing to give up a portion of your profit to learn. Right?
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of value in a lot of the people in this industry that do several deals at a time or in a given year that you can learn a ton of information from. And would you be willing to give up 10, 20, 30, 50% of your profit to learn how a transaction goes, so that the second time around you can either make more money or do it in a more streamlined way? You'll make connections with people, things like that. So be willing to pay for other people's time.
Absolutely.
And I have coaches myself. I believe that coaching is something that I will always be involved with, like having my own coaches, so that I can continue to grow, because this business is very much a mindset thing also.
Yes.
And I've learned a lot about mindset just based off of surrounding myself with the right people.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this business, I always say it's simple, but it ain't easy.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So
if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Exactly. But you want to definitely approach it with the right mindset. My very first deal, Took me 120 offers before I locked up my very first deal.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And that was just based off of me deciding, you know what, I'm going to make this work no matter what. I really didn't have a choice.
So you said 120, so that means you actually have to make offers to get deals?
Yeah, totally, right? What a novel idea. Right. So that's 119 no's.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
That's pretty much people just saying no, 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 over and over, and then eventually you land on something. Why? Because you have faith in the fact that the process works.
Yes.
You have faith
Yes.
in your own ability to make it work as well. So that's 119 rejections. I know a lot of people that are starting out. I'll ask them, they'll say, well, I've been at this for 6 months, 12 months, it's not working, I can't put it together. My next question usually is, how many properties have you seen? How many offers have you put out?
Right.
And if that number is anything less than 120, I'm usually telling you, go back to the drawing board and keep placing offers.
Right, yeah.
And sometimes my offers are ridiculously further apart than what that person is asking. And there's a reason for that. And most times it doesn't work out, but occasionally it does. And are you willing to go through 100 no's before you get to one yes, if that one yes can make you $10, $20, $30, $50,000?
Yeah.
I am. Right? You have to make that decision yourself.
And that's usually the make it or break it for people, in this business, because you talk about 120 offers, and over how long of a time you said it was?
I actually did that in 2 months.
2 months.
Yeah.
So you have people that will make 10 offers, 20 offers in 6 months.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, well, I tried and it didn't work out for me. And, and I say to them, like, first of all, what were you hoping to accomplish?
Yeah.
What was your ultimate goal in making the offers that you made?
Yeah.
And what are you willing to do to at least accomplish that goal?
Absolutely.
If you only did 10, try 100.
Yeah.
If you only did 100, try 1,000.
Yeah.
Because what is it going to cost you? The thing that I say that you gain from doing all of that, getting all of the no's, is you get education.
Yeah. That's it, right? And we've made mistakes on deals, and we've had, I don't call them failures, they're just lessons learned, right? And then we're still standing, we're still moving forward. The bottom line is this, I think of this phrase or this quote from Confucius. I heard it on a Will Smith motivational video, and it's, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right.
Absolutely.
Right? And so if you make a decision that you're going to be able to do this, it doesn't matter. Right? And you just keep moving forward. And if you have a full-time job, find the time.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
We make space in our lives, and we prioritize space in our lives for the things that we want the most.
Yes.
And so if you want to be successful at real estate investing, you will be. Just you have to make the time for it.
And you got to believe it.
Yeah.
You got to believe it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
really
Absolutely. So we got a couple people that have chimed in. Again, thank you guys for watching. We have Melissa Hill. Hey, Melissa. She says, Malhar, it's an honor to hear you speak about your experience.
Thanks.
Very informative. And she says, thank you, Glenn. She's proud of me. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. We have Don Jacobs just joined us. And we got Zane Goodwin that says, yo, guys.
What's up, Jane?
What's up, Zane? Cherise says, great information. Andy Arietta says, Malhar tomorrow at 11.
Yep.
I don't know what that means, but
I'm buying a deal from him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nice job on
Good,
that. Yeah.
Good stuff.
It's the first time we're connecting, so I'm looking forward to many more deals.
Absolutely. Andy, why haven't I got any deals, man? What's going on? But I think we are actually nearing our time. If there are any other questions, we don't have anybody else. Let me see. Let me make sure I go back. I don't want to make sure I don't miss anybody. We had Tim Harvey that said Malhar is one of the most knowledgeable rehabbers in the nation.
Thanks, man. That's saying a lot.
No pressure at all. No pressure at all.
Right. I'm just an average guy.
Well,
putting this together.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, you making it look real good. You know,
man.
and for those of us that are learning from you, I definitely appreciate you, spending the time with us to talk about your experience today.
Yeah.
I want to touch on one real quick thing you mentioned earlier about, it's actually leading up to another thing that I'm going to wrap up with.
Yeah.
You talked about private lending.
Yeah.
What are some of the sources that you've used for private lending?
So that is a whole entire
I know,
conversation.
What's the quick and dirty?
Yeah, so I have creatively financed deals in many, many, many different ways. If you want, I could do another session some other time with you. I could probably do a whole hour-long session on different ways I've raised funds. What it comes down to private lending is this one very key piece. I've touched on it throughout this last hour, which is reputation, transparency. Right? I'm transparent with my lenders. I want them to know that I'm making money.
Absolutely.
Because they want me to be successful, and I let them know, listen, this is what we're buying it for, this is what we're going to renovate it for, and this is what we expect to sell it for, and here's how I can substantiate that. We have an entire private lending packet that we organize for every single deal that we do. And transparency is so very important, because at the end of the day, if I can't make a payment to a lender per the agreed upon terms, I'm going to call them in advance, let them know, hey, I'm going to need an extra 3 months because, XYZ happened on the deal or whatever.
Absolutely.
So I think it's transparency. Doing what you say you're going to do is so very key. I don't hide from my lenders, be them first position, second position. I don't hide. I'm here, I'm standing. If I need to be helping out Danielle manage parts of a project, I'm going to do whatever it takes. You have to be transparent with your lenders. This is the number one way I've heard of several times in the last year, where you go silent on your lender. All of a sudden, if your lender's in Texas lending you money in Georgia, they don't know what's going on, right? If you have and you're just hiding from them, that's not a great way to build a good reputation, And so let your lenders know what's going on. They've worked, sometimes 20, 30, 50 years in their life to save up $250,000 that they lent you on this project, and you don't have the decency to pick up the phone and call them. I think that's very poor form. Definitely. I mean, to put it straight.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what I was alluding to is, so have you had people loan money out of their 401ks and IRAs, things like that?
Yeah, I've had people self-direct their retirement accounts, lend money, that's in cash. I've had people get home equity lines of credit, borrow it at 4 or 5%, and lend it back out to us.
Oh wow!
And we've offered them 8, 10%. Things like that with a lien on the property. So there's a lot of different creative ways that we've showed people how they can invest with us. So it's not just cash that they have in the bank. I think that's where a lot of people stop, especially newer investors. They think, oh, this person doesn't have 50 or 100,000 to lend to me. Let me go and find someone else. Whereas if you have a conversation with someone, sit down, take them out to coffee, lunch, whatever, delve into their situation. And that's the biggest key piece about networking also, is don't worry about how you can help yourself.
Absolutely.
Think about what are their goals and how can you help them.
Right.
Because if you can figure out what they're looking for, you'll usually be able to find a space where you can insert yourself into their long-term financial goals.
Yeah, so, and that's, I mean, you actually really gave some really key information. So that's leading me into talking about the event that we're hosting this Saturday.
Okay.
It's because we're teaching people, actually we have Mike Ventry from Advanta IRA.
Yeah. I have an Advanta IRA with him too.
Oh, okay, good stuff. So he's coming by on Saturday to teach us and some other people that are interested in investing in real estate through their 401ks and IRAs. So he's going to be teaching them how to do the self-directing and how they can actually.
It's cool stuff.
Yeah, definitely, it's great stuff. Yeah. So those of you guys that are in Atlanta, definitely check us out this Saturday. We're going to be at Coconut Grill in Norcross. That's at 4181 Steve Reynolds Boulevard. And that's in Gwinnett County for those of you that are not familiar with that. So that's this Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And the one thing I do want to make sure we don't forget to touch on is we are actually going to be collecting items for those people that were affected by the hurricanes.
Okay.
So if you're not interested in learning how to invest in real estate or invest in real estate with your IRA, please bring some of those items that we're mostly looking for water, bottled water. So if you guys can bring those things by, we'll be there from 11 until. And we'll be collecting those things at the Coconut Grill this Saturday. But I want to make sure. Actually, I think I have to give a shout out to Don Jacobs. I'm actually going to be speaking with Don Jacobs tomorrow night at House Jerk. So for those of you guys that are familiar with House Jerk, definitely check us out. We're going to be over at House Jerk tomorrow evening. But what I want to make sure I do is I want to leave it to you to tell the people how they can reach out to you in the event.
Sure.
They want to invest with you or invest in some of the education that you may have to offer.
Sure. So you can follow us on Facebook. It's M2REST, M as in Mary, the number 2, REST stands for Real Estate Solutions Team. So just look up on Facebook, M2REST. We don't have as big of a social media following as this guy, but we're trying to build it up. So M2REST. You can also find me on Facebook, Malhar, Baghat, Bhagat. You can friend me on Facebook. And I go out to different events. If I'm in town, I'll definitely try to get out to an event. I'm usually never in town for
never.
like this weekend, I'm not here. But I try to make it out as often as I can to different events. So if you see me around, come say hi. I don't think I'm that intimidating. All right. So come say hi.
He's the cool guy with the long hair now.
Yeah. I had short hair, and now I have long hair. But this is who I am. You know, t-shirts and jeans. I'm real life. Real estate investing, right? So, and it's fun. It's fun. If you're not having a good time, you're not able to hang out with your friends doing what you enjoy doing while impacting your community and providing a ton of work to the economy. Why do you do what you do?
Definitely.
So I love this, though.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah,
I definitely appreciate
man.
this. I was reminded by my wife that we're collecting water, canned foods, and non-perishable items. So bring those things by this Saturday at Coconut Grill. There was something else I wanted to make sure I touch on. Somebody was supposed to remind me. I don't think I got it. Oh, Magic says contractors walking around, drills and saws going. That's real life real estate investing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, man.
Definitely. So you guys, you can actually follow us. You know, if you're not connected with us, I know some of you are on with Malhar, but for those of you that have shared with your people, thank you for doing that. And if you want to connect with us, we're at Real Life Real Estate Investing on Instagram and on Facebook. And you can follow me on Instagram at Mr. Dollar Out of a Dime or Glenn Glasper on Facebook. And again, thank you guys for watching. I got to thank you one more time for doing this show. I know I've been trying to catch up with you for a while.
I know.
Oh, that's what I wanted to remember, and I wasn't reminded. We are actually having our Shark Tank style real estate investing event coming back in October. What's the date of the second Saturday in October? 14th.
That's my birthday.
Oh, wow. So will you be in town?
Yeah, I'll be in town.
You're not going to want to hang out with us on that day.
I love real estate. You know, it's not work for me. That's the thing.
Okay.
So I might come out. Yeah, I'd love it.
So if you're interested, I would hope you'd be one of our sharks for that day.
Love it.
Yeah, we're going to have the wholesalers bring their deals. It'll actually be.
I don't know if I'll go out being loved that much.
Well, hey, it happens. You know, we have to tell them what's a real deal.
Yeah, sure.
But it's actually our anniversary event. You know, we've actually been hosting the Real Life Real Estate Investing event for a year next month.
Okay.
So we've been tasked to bring back the Shark Tank style real estate investing.
Cool.
So we're definitely going to do that for October. And if we get enough interest, we'll do it again in November.
Yeah.
You know, so definitely check us out, guys. And if there's anything we can help you with, definitely connect with us. So thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you guys real soon.